Friday the 13th, 2009 is actually about a brother looking for his missing sister who actually disappeared about 6 weeks earlier. But is she just missing or is she already dead? Hey everybody, this is John Franklin Reviewer and welcome back to my next updated version of my Friday the 13th movie, which is the remake, and hopefully not too long after this have my ranking video and you guys can kind of see where I have everything stacked against each other here. So anyways, Friday the 13th, the remake. Now this was a movie I got a chance to see with a really good friend of mine named Joe, believe it or not, on Valentine's Day when this movie came out back in 2009. Unfortunately, I really was disappointed with this movie. I just don't know what it was. It just didn't seem like it clicked with me. I just didn't have a really good time with it. Then, it's like when I bought the movie like years later, I had fun with it. So it seems like I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this movie. Well, what do I think about it as of this recording? Well, you're going to have to stay tuned on that. So let's jump right into the likes. Well, the first thing I want to talk about, let's talk about some characters. Let's talk about a character named Clay Miller, played by Jared Padalecki, who is one half of the brothers in their show Supernatural, which I think is a really good show. If you haven't seen it, definitely a recommend. So I think his acting is really good. He's definitely believable, definitely someone likable, someone that you really want to follow, someone that you'd want to be your hero in a movie like this. He does such a good job. Another character who is the complete opposite of this guy, and I used to hate this guy, but I'm putting him in the likes here, is Trent. He is the asshole of the film, but yet I feel like that when him and Clay actually have scenes together, they actually really do work together. I mean, Trey hates Clay, and Clay's just looking for his sister. Then another character I want to talk about is, actually, I guess it's supposed to be Trent's girlfriend, at least I think it's supposed to be, is Jenna, I believe her name is. Now, the only thing I really want to throw about her out here is that just like the grandfather in Friday the 13th Part 5, she is such a sweetheart, and I think that she definitely deserved a shout out for that there too. I mean, I like her acting. I think they all do a good job with their acting. And then the final character I want to talk about with the likes is Derek Mears, who plays Jason. He is such a badass. He is definitely a scary Jason, and we probably haven't had a scary Jason like this in probably a very long time. Now, going with Jason's kills, there's some weak ones, but there's a lot of cool kills. There's a lot of surprise kills that I'm like, oh wow, Jason did something like that. I would have not expected that. Really a very funny movie. I'll say this. It's definitely more of a hit than a miss. There are some jokes I'm just like, and there are some like really stupid things that happen. And now moving on to the dislikes. Well, the first thing I have to say, and this has always felt like this to me, ever since I first saw this movie back in 2009 at the movie theaters, all the way to this last watch, this movie has always felt like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. It doesn't feel like it's a Friday the 13th movie. One of the reasons is that Friday the 13th, none of them ever had hillbillies, where something like Leatherface does, and this actually has a hillbilly scene where I think he's like, maybe the hillbilly is in it a couple times. He might be the only exception where I think he still does an okay job with his acting, but I'm not 100% sold on him. I just think he's just a bad character, and when he does eventually get it by Jason, I did kind of like that there. But that's kind of like, I'm like, well, and moving on to Jason with this, whenever the one time that we get his face revealed. Now, one thing I got to throw out, and I'll get more into it a little later with the dislikes here. So he got the sack head, he gets that ripped off and eventually finds the hockey mask. Well, when they show his face, like very quick, again, it looked like it was something that was from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, almost looked like a Leatherface makeup instead of more of the mentally challenged Jason, which I'm not saying Leatherface wasn't, but the thing was that with his sack head, believe it or not, people kind of like this one better than in Part 2 of the original. I like the Part 2 a whole lot better, probably because you see it a lot more anyways there. But the thing was that his makeup I didn't like, the sack head I didn't really like, and the huge decision in the script of what Jason needs to do to a particular character, and it just doesn't feel like something that Jason would ever really do. He's a killing machine, he's nothing else. I brought up the sister, and unfortunately we don't see her a whole lot in this movie. Again, her acting's okay when we do see her. She does a good job when she needs to be scared. But I just don't really care for her because we don't really get a whole lot with her, unfortunately. Now, in my opinion, there was no Crazy Ralph wannabe in this movie. Now, and I think that in 2009, I think that they could have come up with a really good Crazy Ralph character that maybe could have surpassed the original, but they didn't really have anybody like that. I mean, the last 2 minutes of this movie, now if you're someone who's actually grew up with these movies or even seen a couple of these movies and you're just a casual fan, you know how this movie was going to end, and it was so obvious. I mean, I wish they would have tried to do something different, and they do what they did, and I'm just like, yeah, you know it's going to be coming. And then the final dislike is going to be that this is an updated version of the original first four. Now, here's the thing. Now, they go very quick on the first three on who the mysterious killer is, which I'm sure most people do already know. In the very first one, then we get Jason in 2 and 3, where he has Sackhead Jason, gets his mask. But then most of this movie takes place with part 4, with the brother, or which he was not really a character I even cared for in the original, which at least Clay does a good job in this. But I'm not a big fan of that movie at all, and they decided to maybe an hour or 50 minutes of that chunk to make about part 4, and that's kind of what disappoints me about this movie. I know there's a lot of people that love part 4. I've just never been a big fan of that one. Friday the 13th, the remake, I'm going to go 2 out of 4 stars. It's a decent movie, but that's all I can really say about it. But for you, are you a fan of this remake? Give me a comment down below. We can discuss it. So thank you guys so much for watching my updated version of this entire franchise. I do appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.